Yo, what's up, everybody? How you doing? Hope y'all had a good weekend. I missed you guys last week. I didn't get to stream on Wednesday and Friday. Hope you all had good days off, staying inspired. Anybody working on anything good today? Just getting set up here. Who all's here? Looks like you guys are busy here. Saffron, hello. Please do drop a link. I think I have a couple more emails from you in my inbox that I need to reply to. I got to some this morning, but still getting caught up. Designed by Logic, welcome back. How are you? Eric, welcome, dude. Hope you had a good weekend. Bunch. Happy Monday to you. 3 bunch. I like that, Eric. Ben, how you doing, nanowires? Happy Monday to you. And Will, Zev, good morning. Playing some funk this morning. Saf, I will check out that new EP ASAP. Ooh, the tracks were sitting on your computer for a year. That's got to feel good, putting something out that has just been sitting. Javar, welcome back. Welcome back. Oh, Zev, if it's for my eyes only, send it through email. If you want to share it with peeps, you are more than welcome. And Benny's got 2 tracks for feedback. And yes, I do have the time. Go ahead and drop a link in. Oh, you already did. Man. Just catching up, guys. A little slow. Sweet. Okay. I have no problem starting off with some feedback, honestly. I'm a bit behind in a few things. Spent a little extra time on some stuff for people facing deadlines last week, and I was out a couple of days, so now I'm buried in email and more deadlines. So now I just need to figure out exactly how to prioritize today. Yeah, I really do. Thank you, Ben. You guys can send me coffee, coffee cups, anything that helps the bean juice endeavor. If you're looking to submit sounds for us to use, holler at OhmLab.tv. If you want something with my eyes and ears only on it, you can send it through there. Or if you're wanting to send something for me to upload to the community drive where all of the community samples are held, send them on through to holler at OhmLab.tv, and I will get those posted for you as quickly as I can. If you're looking for feedback, drop links in the chat, and I will get to you as quickly as possible. Foss, thank you so much. Aw, we've been going steady for 3 months, Foss and I. Look at that eyeball. Look at that eyeball. And I have a new fun little proposition for you guys. On a fun random note generator plugin. Let me think about that for just 1 sec. All right, so the new thing that I would like to propose is just periodically, just kind of a fun hangout stream where we're not setting out to accomplish anything great. Great things might come out of it, but we're not actually intending to make great things. We're really, truly just chasing fun and like hilarity here, really. The thought is this: we spend a little bit of time making a couple of beats, a couple of patterns, let's say MIDI patterns. Okay, beats might be a loose interpretation in some moments with this. And then I give you guys, a chunk of time to submit sounds, and you guys throw a bunch of sounds at me, and they can be whatever, right? Musical instruments, farm animals, interstellar, space static, whatever. And we will randomly shuffle those, toss them into a big old bag, and just throw them into those MIDI clips to see what comes out. Kind of like a beat roulette, right? Thinking that this could be something really, really funny. And I think that the world needs more funny right now. So I'm proposing this, that we may dedicate one stream. And in exchange for me getting my beat roulette day out of you guys, I would then commit to at least a day a month of Mod Ross. I would finally give in to the Mod Ross demands. And I'd probably wear the wig, the big fro wig. For those who are not familiar with Bob Ross, you'd have to get up on this, but people have been asking me for a long time to do Mod Ross. I think I might be willing to acquiesce and do this with you now. But in exchange, you guys got to play beat roulette with me. And I think that it would be awesome. Yeah, Mod Ross. Mod Ross is like Bob Ross. It's like an alternate personality that came out in a couple of tutorials many years ago. And for whatever reason, people glommed on, and they will not let it go. I remember showing up down in San Francisco, like in a real world classroom at Pyramid, and people were like, Mod Ross. I'm like, what? Anyway, Mod Ross is the idea is that you start playing with something and you don't like something, so you turn it into something else, or you do like something and you just bounce it, and it's all just through the voice and character of Bob Ross, and you have no idea where anything is going at any point in time. He's famous for saying, let's put a little birdie up here in the sky. Oop, totally fucked that one up. Let's turn that into a cloud, right? Oh, that looks bad. Let's turn this into a tree. So anyway, if you guys are down with playing highly experimental and probably potentially like lose part of your drink through your nose kind of funny beat roulette, then I would be willing to play Bob Ross with you guys. Oh, the other part of Bob Ross is that you guys pick you guys actually pick what's happening, right? Like, you set the theme, you make the request for sounds or songs or whatever in it, and it's just hilarious. It's just fun. Anyway. I vote yes, this is fun. I like. Also, I am number 3 prostitute in Kazakhstan at the moment. Please watch content. Thank you. Ben, did you just watch the subsequent movie film? I watched it a few weeks ago. It was pretty great. Bob Foss. Oh, dude. One more reason to somehow connect the channels, Foss, and make weird noise and weird, cool visuals all at the same time. Of course, Bob Ross has a 24-hour Pluto channel. That's awesome. Oh, man. Oh, wow. Audio Cipher app, welcome. Hey, Ezra. Everybody, welcome. Audio Cipher app. I bet I probably have emails sitting in my inbox from you right now, and I haven't been able to get to them, so I will try my best to respond to you and everybody else by the end of the day today. We'll see. It may not happen. I was off for a couple of days last week, so I'm playing catch up. Yeah, happy little notes. Happy little notes. We'll put in a tiny little happy topper here for this beat, right? I don't know. When Mod Ross is in the house, notorious things happen. Like, okay, let's split this out to 8 channels and start saturating this in different layers. And it's all pretty ridiculous. It's all pretty ridiculous. I've got a little Bonch Ross in me. Bonch. Oh, man. Yep. Missed you guys. Saf Ross. Ram Dass meets Pop Ross. Yeah, that's kind of it, Eric. Yeah, absolutely. Boss. Oh, you guys are fantastic. I missed you last week. Anyway, so I would love to propose a beet roulette. Is that how I spell roulette? All right, so I'm going to come back to this a couple of times as more people filter in and we kind of start to see the change of the guards happen today. But anyway, I wanted to get that out there before we start any feedback or anything this morning. And without further ado, let's click on one of these. Bob Ross, remember painting is whatever you want. I like to live in my paintings. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Congrats to Saf on getting the EP out. Oh, hey, and congrats to Saf on unlocking the lifetime discount achievement award. This happens with everyone. If you stay with me for a bunch of years in private sessions, eventually you just kind of unlock this lifetime discount thing, which is awesome. That happened today for Saf, and he's pretty happy about it. Just scrolling through chat really quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. Designed by Logic, thanks for following the Twitter. You know, I never tweet, so I guess now I have to start tweeting. And I have not touched socials since the world went sideways. It's just been way too much. You get a nice vacation from the high prices. Yeah, absolutely. Forever. I don't know. I see it as you support me for a long time, and I in turn support you for a long time. All right, let's click on one of these things from Ben first. I'm just going to click from top down. Hey, and before I forget, I want to know how many of you have seen this? And is this something that I should pursue to see if we can get for some live stream loving? It's a wicked piece of hardware. I haven't seen anything quite like this come out yet. We'll have to spend a couple minutes looking at some videos together, but I'm wondering how many of you have actually seen Vector. They've done a few release cycles, and each time it's sold out, it was still in pre-order status each time it sold out. Yeah, early bird sold out. Second mass spring batch, it's all just sold out. Anyway, we'll look at that. Has anybody put hands on Vector or listened to Vector or seen Vector yet? Subvids, welcome. I hear you, Designed by Logic. I hear you. I feel like maybe we'll just reboot Twitter. It needs a refresh, right? All right, so this first one is from Ben. Fresh start. He's got a new save, but not bounced. Okay, cool. So we'll give you some feedback. Some of it might not even be applicable. All right, here we go. All right. So just a couple little ideas here. All right, so I love the simple kind of German vibe you've got going on this one. Let's see here. What you guys were talking about before I kick down? You changed out the kick. All right, yeah. So, looks like there's some good comments coming in from a couple different people. Uh, yeah. First, I like that simple vibe that you've got going in this one. In this first minute, as the build increases in intensity, maybe you're increasing the stereo width of that synth or something like that. So the bass starts to shine through even more, right? Just kind of removing um, the frequency competition in the beginning, right? And just adding this really wide landing pad for the rest of the stuff in your palette. Maybe between 1 and 130, play with some dotted or triplet echoes. Not like big, long, feedbacky reverbs or anything, but maybe just periodic little tasty dots. What if on this bass synth, since it is so simple and it runs pretty current, what if you put a gentle LFO on just the tuning of one of the oscillators, if it's a poly, or if it's a single oscillator just on the main tuning, just to get it in and out of itself, so to speak, right? Let it kind of create those little bits of tension in there. And what if between like 2 and 3, because it sits kind of in the static mode for a bit, but what if there's like this series of saturation swells, or maybe some sort of like modulated reverb wash on a parallel channel? I think that both of those would probably sound good. You might even be able to play with them in tandem. It's a bit old school, but I think it would sound really nice with this. I mean, the track is a bit old school. Um, and waiting for 3 minutes to drop a hi-hat, that's nice. Um, really allows the small frequencies to fill a big space, and there's no, you know, need for reverb. That's just nice to wait that long. Add-ons, subtle dialogue, right? Short chops. Um, you can play with psychoacoustics with some kind of ear candy in this, is basically what I'm thinking. Maybe some simple modular sweeps or hits, some reverse claps, just kind of placed at odd intervals, or maybe even just simple static swirls. It's got a cool. That's right. You should also put a reverb bus on the main synth and automate it before drops or transition areas with a low cut filter too. Yeah, yeah, definitely agree with that. Yeah, and I think, Subvids is saying a bit more movement. I would agree. I think that these things would probably add a lot. I don't know about adding too many more elements to a track like this. It's more about making long form changes to the small handful of instruments that you have. One thing you can play with, if you're really wanting to add more but not clutter things up and create more competition, is bring in and out layers, right? So basically, you're building in the same lanes that you've already created, right? You're kind of utilizing the infrastructure, if you will, of your track that's already there. And you can play, right? Like you can morph between two completely different sounds, another kind of old school trick. Um, but that's a fun way to just kind of increase interest, get movement going in a different way rather than moving things around the stereo field or through filters or whatever. Um, yeah, and I would agree with subvids on the a little bit of dirt. I like the idea of these saturation swells, maybe, right? And they don't necessarily need to be on just one instrument. They could be, um, running maybe not even concurrent, but if okay, here's a little example. If you had a track with an LFO with subtle saturation, let's say it's the bass, and it's every 3 bars, it's running through a rather large swell in saturation. Maybe the other synth is getting it every bar and a half, or every bar, or something like that, right? But more subtle. So there's just kind of this kind of, you know, thing happening, and not bringing it up to the same level and down to the same level each time, just making it kind of organic. I think it would feel good. Ooh, Donna Summer. Choice. Choice. I think Subvids and I are feeling the same kind of thing on this one. Otherwise, dude, this is good. It's very simple, and I like that. It gives you lots of room to play. Zev, did you drop one in here, or no? Yes, you did. Maybe I'll hit Zev's next and then circle back and get the second one from Ben. All right. BP My Master V1. Paul, thank you so much. 6 months in a row. Foss and Paul kicking down today. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. All right, so this is a new one from Will. And Paul, greetings from sunny Maryland. Greetings from 80% sunny Portland. I think we're going to squeak out just a little bit of bright sun rays before the snow comes for the rest of the week into next week. All right, Zev, you ready? I like that. Ezra, thank you for the follow and the sub. I appreciate it. Just a super quick pause to say I'm loving the use of the stereo field. Thank you. Needle drop. All right, so feedback on this one. We're starting to get to the point, man, where I don't have as much stuff to nitpick. So I feel like I'm starting to point out things that I like more. I really, really like the sliding nature, the sliding texture of that intro synth. It's awesome. And when that gnarly fat bass first hits, yeah. And your use of the stereo field just there, especially just kind of setting the stage in that first minute, is just awesome. It really kind of sets the standard for the whole thing. What if, like after a minute or so, since these things are running kind of throughout the mix, what if you start to play with pitch in the delay tail? Just in your processing chain at the very end, put a pitch shifter on it, and then just make sure to set it to like pitch tracking, right? And pitched up like maybe a seventh, and then maybe a full octave, and then maybe a third or something like that, just in different parts, and just kind of modulate a few different options there. I think because they'd be so fleeting and faint, and they'd be way off to the sides, that I think it would really make people like pay attention to them again in different places. And I think that the chunky bass, just going down a couple of notes here, I think that the chunky bass kind of falls into that same thing where it's like it's super cool when it first hits, and because there isn't much change in them after that, they kind of get lost. Not in the mix, just attention-wise. That's not the edge. Dude, I love that little sitar morph tease that you've got in there. It sounds like you're playing with sculpture. I freaking love it. I was just about to type, man, this guitar needs a little saturation swell or something. And then you did that. I would say that from like the 5-minute mark or so, when we come back into it all after this drop, it moves on from that clubby feel, and it moves more into like this epic sweeping guitar jam kind of a thing. What if there was more morphing happening? I know that's difficult, right? Because you've got the bass, or I mean, the guitar is being played live. The other thing might be through sculpture, but what you could try is auto-magically transforming. It's not really auto-magically. It takes a little bit of work. But changing audio to MIDI, there's a little trick for that. I can't remember if we've gone through that together or not, but I could show you really quick. But anyway, incorporating maybe just a little bit of supporting sitar kind of ish string sound in there, and then maybe messing with that in some way. Very, very subtle little, like gating or something. And going back to that chunky bass comment, I'm not thinking changing up the much of anything in it, more just something to grab the attention of people, kind of like the comment about the melodic bits, right? Maybe just pitching up in the delay tails or something like that. It's so super fleeting. What if there were just super subtle stutters or interrupts that make people go, wait, what just happened there? Did the bass just change? And once they're tuned in, it all kind of stays the same again, but just kind of mess with them a little bit to get their attention back on that point. Love the hanging note transition from the guitar at 6 minutes. At 6:20, I love that there's a drum fill there, but I think that the drum fill needs to be stronger. It felt a little like, oh, we're doing a drum fill, and I think it should be more like, yeah, we're doing a fucking drum fill. You know what I mean? I'm going to scroll up and see what people are talking about in the chat really quick. Saf says, I remember in September this channel came up from the ground. Yeah, dude, absolutely. Hasn't been that long. Ben. Yeah, people are digging this, Will. Always with the edge comments, right? Yeah, Ezra's calling this an epic journey. It's definitely got the dash of epic in it for sure. It's got like a little like kind of like a Steve Vai kind of a vibe almost, with like this kind of hanging notes. I mean, you've got the dotted delay in there, so it's reminiscent of the Edge too, but you've got this more on the epic side. I like it. Yeah, he's good, right, Ben? I love that Judas Priest is something that you always toss out there. All right, so oh, it's your Korg monologue. Whole main melody a few times to dial in the automation. Went through like 5 or 6 different fills and was having a lot of trouble making it feel powerful enough. Same at 150 or so before the drop. Yeah, I would say if that drum fill hit harder, it would feel dope. If you're having a hard time dialing one in, I could knock out some MIDI for you, or open up your loop library in Logic and find a really good one, and then just toss that clip into your own kit, right? And kind of borrow their fill, or open up a drummer track and set it to loud and like full fill. Add all the bells and whistles, and then record like 3 or 4 goes of that, and then take the resulting MIDI clips and toss them up on your drum track, and Bob's your uncle. You're done. I bet that would probably do it for you. Yeah, this is good, man. It's solid. I like it. It's got a very natural gel to it for all the different pieces you've got moving in there. It's tasty. Bob Ross, your uncle. Will, are you just messing with me right now? Were you here for the bit where I said I will finally play Mod Ross? It's a Monday. I've only had half a cup of coffee. You could have told me that Bob Ross was your aunt. Okay, there's the second track from Ben coming in. And then maybe we'll switch to bouncing some samples for a bit. And for those of you just joining, I have proposed that we start doing I don't know, maybe like a monthly thing, so it doesn't like take up a bunch of our time that we like spending together, but doing like a monthly stream where we dedicate the entire thing basically to beat roulette, where we knock out a few fun and super funky MIDI patterns that would otherwise be beats, and then you guys submit crazy sounds, whatever you can imagine. Chipmunks eating nuts, jackhammers at construction sites. I don't know. Crazy stuff, right? Whale songs. I don't know. You send those in, and then we start subbing stuff at random completely. Like, we will shake these up, reach in there, and throw them at these MIDI patterns and make new fun beats. But in exchange, I will be Maud Ross once a month. Someone's got to pick out a really good wig, and you guys can send me flannels, and we'll make this happen. Andremia! Heyo, how are you? Did Bob Ross have many nephews? He was too busy. Oh, man. We're doing a little bit of feedback here. We're going to do another one from Ben, and then we're going to go bounce some samples. And I'm going to further lift the veil on this side of the industry for you guys and just kind of basically just walk through like, hey, this is how you make an entire massive sample library that gets sold off to one of these really big marketplaces, right? Or one of these big labels that then takes it and runs with it. Because there's a lot that goes into that. And I think that people should be a bit more transparent in this, so we can see this part of the industry fully democratized as well. I know. Here we go. This one's from Ben. Thank you for the sub, Nate. All right. First off, dead mouse much? Right out the gates, you've like nailed the vibe. It's tasty and it's got a really like comfortable low end to it. It feels like you can just kind of sit in this track. Um, Life of SQ, Life of Square, Life of Squee. Welcome to the mix and thank you for the follow. And Nate, thank you for the sub. Ezra, thank you for the sub. Paul, thank you for the sub. Foss, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it, you guys. So I would say that maybe twist that sound effect. It comes up a couple times. I'm not exactly sure what to call it. It's like a drop impact. It's very sudden. It's surprising, and because of that, I think that it should be a bit more unexpected. And if you were to, affecting that there's a reverb in there, it feels like there's a reverb in there, modulate the timing of the reverb, increase, or sorry, the timing, the size. So if you increase the size, the pitch will go down. If you decrease the size, the pitch will go up, but actively just kind of smear the sound like, right? Not quite a full pitch bend, but more of an actual smearing of sounds. I think that it would sound dope. Especially if in the stereo master you had some kind of like a spherical, like binaural pan swirl down, right? Where it starts really like narrow because you've got the really big sub impact, right? And you've got to keep it narrow. But then as it smears, you cut out the low end and spread it out across the stereo field. I think it'd be a bit more of like a, cinematic. Between 45 and 130-ish, something like that. Maybe offset the timing of the art periodically, or just toss in one single dotted or triplet note that people don't necessarily expect, just to upset the flow a little bit, of just one element like that arp. Okay, so at 2 minutes, the kick comes in and it affects your mix. Now, I'm not saying that you're not EQing your reverb. I'm just saying that it affects your mix and you can hear it. So maybe revisit the EQs and figure out which thing in there is making that happen. Chumslick, welcome. And then play with long-form detuning sweeps. I think that there's enough interest and enough comfort in this track that you start to kind of lose track of the cool factor, right? The fact that it all started with some pretty nice ear candy. And since there hasn't been a lot of change over time to each one of those things individually, I think that people just kind of become acclimated to them over time. So play with maybe long form detuning sweeps to just increase interest, and then get in there and set up a couple of macros and, do like a little sign shaping on one or something that can bring in a little bit of grit that's not just standard distortion, right? So it feels a bit more analog or modular in nature. You could try ring mod. Right? And if you're modulating the rate at which the ring mod is occurring, then if you dip down low enough in hertz, then you start to get, kind of like the pulse thing every once in a while, and you can sync that to the rhythm of your project. Have fun. Play with that part. Play with that. Yeah, sorry to hit you with the savage, but if there's new people in the room this morning, they're like, wow, this guy's just a freaking dick. Nate, I always appreciate your support, homie. Yeah, everyone else is feeling the dead mouse too, I'm sure. Yeah, actually, Eric's got a good point here. Your ARP sounds maybe subtly changing the ADSR shape in general, but if you were to actually just mod that, like put an envelope or an LFO on the attack, for instance, right? Now put a competing LFO at a slightly different rate on the decay, right? So now it's just kind of got this kind of give and take, push and pull, sloppy, super sharp kind of thing going on. That would feel good in this. That would feel good in this. SQ, welcome to the mix, dude. How you doing? Needs to be more floaty, but you don't know how to do it though. That's an easy thing to do. SQ, yes, just drop a link in the chat and hang tight. So you can make it more floaty by taking advantage of your spatial mix, right? So you send stuff out to the sides, right? Which you've done a good job of. Now, if you can largely eliminate the bottom half of each one of those sounds, right? Just kind of bus these sounds out to a new parallel channel where the low end has been removed. Start playing with those things. Start playing with those things on the side and only in the side. You can play around with little things like delay or pitch shifts, or what I really like doing in there is getting in there with like an old school Evoc filter or something like that, or vocoder type thing, right? Where you can kind of morph between a fairly clean versus like an almost robotic kind of feel or aesthetic with things. You don't always have to keep that fully wet thing because it's in a parallel track, right? So you can mix that into your liking. The other thing you can do is use kind of like a multi-effect to get there quickly, like maybe hysteresis or something like that from glitch machines, where it gets you into, you know, your delay and your stutter and your filter modulation and everything very quickly. What else can you do in there to make it a bit more floaty? Again, just kind of separating the lows from the highs, because there's not a ton of different elements in this mix. You do need to leave the low end of your instruments fairly rooted towards the center, right? But that does not mean that you're restricted or held back in any way from playing with the sides and the tops. Like, you should feel like this type of a track has a very large tree trunk to it with deep roots, right? But all of the branches are fair game. Like, put more fruit out there, so to speak, right? And let them wiggle a little bit in the breeze. I would not say no to some noise in here. I think that just some brighter full spectrum shots of some kind would be good. But start off with the long form detuning and start to see what kind of feels you get from that, and, you know, take it from there. Nate, I love that your face just randomly pops up as emotes. Also beginning stage, definitely play with the long form mod of the track. Awesome. Cool. SQ, I see you in the chat here. Yeah, you bet. You bet, Ben. I'm glad you always take the savage comments with a grain of salt. Mm. You know, it'd be a shame if you just got all, you know, worked up and like that, you know. The angry squirrel is here to stay. I wonder if we're going to see purple pros today. Oh, hey, look at that. Eric bought Saf's new EP. That's great. I am hanging in there, SQ. Today's a Monday, and I didn't stream on Wednesday, Friday last week, so I missed everybody here. So we're BSing a bunch. Dude, Nate, I'm excited for you, and I think it's a cool little thing to explore. Definitely keep me in the loop, and let's do another session soon. Personal work is essential. I'm buried, absolutely tremendously buried in an avalanche of email right now after missing a couple of days last week. So one of the things that kind of came up near the surface was, and this question comes in daily from people all over the place, and I feel like whenever I get the chance. I try to put this out there because I think that there's just too much cool and and not enough real in this industry in general. But I just want to touch on imposter syndrome really quick. Everybody feels it, and people that say that they don't, they're liars. Okay, so everybody out there that feels imposter syndrome, especially when you're starting up with a brand new client for the very first video game that you're working on, or you're submitting stuff to labels and you're getting feedback back that you weren't expecting, or you're entering into a collab and you're stressing on sending your parts to your new partner, whatever it be, whatever it is, everyone else is feeling the same thing. Everyone else is feeling the same thing. You're not on an island. Well, I mean, you might be. You might live on an island, but, everybody feels it. So don't let them fool you. There's just a bunch of that in this business. There's just a bunch of that. Angry Squirrel needs a what? Oh, man. All right. Let's do one more round of feedback, and then we'll start bouncing some stuff. That face. Bring back the donkey. Oh, okay. Someone find me a donkey and a picture of a donkey, and let's roll back. Oh snap! Where was this? Streams. Where did we go back to get the squirrel? Was it October? Oh, yep, there's the squirrel screams. Creature snack. No, the donkey was before the squirrel, though. We're going to find this really quick, and we're going to put this up on the... Oh, there's the screaming squirrels right there at the very end of September going into October. So that means that it's got to be... Oh, that's right. It was during the... It was during the Halloween stuff. Where the hell is it? Oh man, guys gotta help me get into the habit of oh, I'm going in the wrong. No, I'm not. You guys gotta help get me into the habit of when we find something like that donkey. Oh, I know. Donkey. Donkey. Donkey prey. Maybe we just made it and didn't bounce it. Okay, we will remake it if I can't find it. I won't spend all stream looking for this thing, but we will find it. It might actually be in the one where the squirrels came from, which would be this one. I'll just open it really quick. Oh man, that sound is freaking hilarious. And the squirrel, of course. Wicked. Apparently we did some stuff on this day because it's taken a little bit. What in the world? Shaker, plastic bags, little piano, bow on the stove. I remember this day. Bleachers being slammed. You guys sent in some really interesting stuff this day. Oh, I remember which stream it was in, you guys. We were scoring Silent Hill. We were rescoring Silent Hill. We'll go back and we'll find that. We'll jump back in here and hey! Hey! Purple Pros is here. Welcome. It's a cute little black squirrel. You know what's funny is we've taken that cute little black squirrel's innocence and we've just wrecked it, haven't we? Oh my goodness. Heidi, while you were away, I think I've been talked into doing the Bob Ross character, like on the regular. All right, so this is from Life of SQ. Let's do this. Okay, so right out the gates, really nice texture on this, and nice clean vocal edits too, especially in that first vocal. The background piano bit could come forward a bit. I feel like it's a bit buried, and the vocals are just a bit too upfront. So if you were to kind of meet in the middle somewhere with those two, I think it would feel better in general. You can shift your piano just out of center a bit. There's no low end there. It'll make your vocals pop just a little bit more. I would suggest adding another element in here. Some mid-lows would really play well. The backing vocal that comes in around 55 seconds or so, it's too close and too present in relation to the main vocal. It's good supporting vocals. It's just not separated enough from the main vocal. So what I would do is adjust those volume-wise, right? Make your main vocal the priority so it stays up. But then the other one, move it a bit more to one side. And you could even consider EQing it differently, putting on some kind of an effect, or maybe even a splash of reverb on it to push it back a little bit. Something like that. And the reason why I make such a point of this is because the background vocal is so far removed that there's already the precedent set for this aesthetic, right? That the vocal will reign supreme and that everything else needs to kind of come in second place, right? Or later. So I think that you should stay true to that feel and move those backing vocals. The second vocal, the second main vocal, I guess, that comes in around 130, it doesn't seem to be as good a quality recording. So I would get in there and EQ the low end a bit better. And I'm not sure what you're using for processing on this. But if this is, if this is a multi-effect plugin like an RC20 or something like that, you could increase some of the grit and tape type effects, right, to warp it just a little bit. Avalon and TubeTech. Okay, well, I guess what I'm getting at is you can kind of leverage the fact that it's not quite as clear as the other one and just kind of mess it up even just a little bit more, right? Just to add a little bit more wow or flutter or something like that. And I think that might help, right, make it feel a little bit better, because right now what it feels like to me is the main one was pretty on point and the second one was kind of good enough. Like you're using what you got. And it should feel a little bit different than that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It'll create an interesting effect. And when you go a little bit beyond what you would normally do with an effect process like that on something as significant as vocals, it comes across as an artistic decision regardless of why you actually went there in the first place as a producer, right? You may have gone there in the first place because there was too much noise floor in this vocal, which means you had to chop out more low end than you were originally comfortable with, and then that means that you had to affect the voice to be happy with it, right? But the listener doesn't need to know any of that. They just want to know that, or they just want to be able to enjoy the vocals, right, in the mix. So I would put more distance between those vocals and play with that stuff. Um, Two-man crowd, thank you so much for the follow. And for talking with OhmLab. Nobody ever freaking talks with OhmLab. Poor guy. Oh, awesome. Here the whole time. Nice purple prose. Oh, Ben, I'm just reading the cashew comments. Yeah, I'd agree with subvids on that as well. The main vocals you could even back off a bit on the overall effects, and that would really kind of also increase the separation of the second vocals from the first. Gray scrolls are classed as vermin in the UK, but what about red scrolls, Eric? Are they vermin as well? I know that there are some places that make a great distinction between the gray and the reds, and that they're in a bit of a civil war, from what I understand. The grays and the reds. You're asking the vocal isn't too crisp, right? Okay, so there's two things. Because one, are you asking that question because you feel that they are crisp? Because you should listen with your own ears first and judge with your own ears first, because you're not trying to meet the expectations of someone else. You're trying to get your sound out there to the best of your ability, like in the truest sense. So if you're after really crisp vocals, then freaking keep them, right? Don't fall prey to someone else's stuff. But that said, has this been mastered, and like, is this already running through some kind of maximizer? Because as they are, I think they're right on that borderline. If they are still yet to be maximized, as this has not been mastered, then yes, they are too crisp. Because you're just going to end up hitting pain points in those upper frequencies. If you can kind of quell things just a bit around 2K and then again around 5K or so, you're going to be fine. Omi's got wings. What's up, guy? How you doing? All right. Did we get everybody? Oh, what is this? Hold on a second. I got something here from Subvids. Oh, great. We're to the donkey pictures. Oh, man, that first one right there. Oh, that's really good. That one's too cute for this purpose. This first one is ace. Okay, let's That's too good not to use. All right. So I've grabbed that. Thank you, Subhits. Oh, actually, that one's probably the full size here. Apologize for the messy desktop, folks. Too many people needing things at deadlines. Makes my desktop mighty messy. All right, so before we start bouncing stuff, I want to know, has anyone seen Vector yet? And do you think that it's something that I should pursue for the channel? Let me just see if there's a video. Yes, there is. It's a synth subvids. And it's touchscreen too. Yeah, just like the anime. From what I understand, they've been trying to get this thing released out to the wild, but it keeps selling out. They've been in the pre-order state for a while because people have seen it and they're just like, wait, what? I want this. And then they sell out before they can actually stock shelves. Yeah, right? Yeah, it is visually mesmerizing. Saf, I would say, yeah, you probably can. Yeah, so anyway, there's this thing, vector synth. I'm really wondering so much about this thing. It's been a while since I've seen something that stands out as significantly different enough, you know? Yeah, anyway, I'm intrigued. It works in, you know, like the whole vector matrix realm, which means lots and lots of morphing. So that's right up my alley. We are like moths, right? We're all. Oh man. All right, let's bounce some sounds out of this thing. I would like to go back to a previous stream here. So it might be this one here. Not quite. This one. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go back into this project here and bounce some stuff out. I want to do some of these kind of, I don't even know what to call these yet. I need to come up with a good catchy name for them, because they're certainly growing in popularity. These kind of like imagined soundscapes from other places. Yeah, let's pull up this whole project here. Tachyon, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Okay, so this one element is just a little bit sharp. So this is an instance of serum being triggered with the sampler. So it's the sampler that needs to ease up just a little bit. Oh, that motorbike in the background really kind of seals the deal on this one, huh? Yeah, that's nice. I think I'm gonna add in a couple of notes here. I think that's just way too busy. Let's just stack them all together. Maybe we'll even go up a bit more. Tachyon, always taking submissions. If you are looking for feedback, go ahead and drop a link in the chat. Be patient. We'll circle back around to it in just a sec. And if you're looking to submit sounds to add to the community sample drive, then you just send them on into holler@ohmlab.tv and I'll get them posted for you. Oh, that's much more three-dimensional. I like that. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to resolve in about 1 minute. Just like kind of right on the money right there. Yeah, screwed it. It'll be a little bit over. Let's check Argoni really quick. And our LUFs. All right, this is what we need to wrangle in, right? Let's see what happens when we make this mostly mono here. let's just bounce one of these really quick and see what it ends up sounding like. Then let's bounce this into atmospheres. We'll call this atmospheres and ambience, I guess. And we'll call this a, for lack of a better term, hybrid rainforest right now. Lovely. Let's pop over and see if we can find that really quick. There it is. It's close. It'll need a little EQ love, but it's close. All right, so let's get back into, let's do another feedback really quick. Tachyon's got one in here. Looks like Two Man Crowd's also got one here. If you have time for feedback, I'd love to hear your opinion on the mix. Only thing I've noticed myself is that the snare and the main lead should be brought more to the front. Cool, cool. All right, let's hit one from Tachyon first since he was in line. Then we'll circle back and we'll hit that one. And Saf, we will we'll have to kick it with this a little bit. It looks like you've got samples and EP ready for us. Awesome. All right, so this one is from Tachyon. All right, so this one's fun. It's a bit hot for a pre-master, and especially if when the full mix is coming in around 1 minute, you really want that to really hit home. So I'd bring the whole mix down several dB in the beginning and leave room for that additional volume bump when everything comes back in. If this has already been mastered, it was probably a little hot going into it. So I would just caution against like the overuse of compression in general. But all in all, this is a really fun palette of sounds. Um, the biggest things that I would point out are the volume imbalance, just not having enough added space for everything coming back in and everything just being a little hot and up front. You might want to work with the stereo field, just moving a couple more elements away from direct center so you can bring down the overall level of everything, because the things left in the center will shine a lot brighter without as much competition. Um, that'd be a really, really good place to start for improvement. As far as the actual arrangement and everything, I wouldn't touch a thing. I love the wonk, the little wonk feel that you've got added in the piano, and just again, just um, the overall palette of sounds that you're playing with is just it's fun. It's kind of refreshing, and it's got a bit of a demented um, appeal to it, which I like. So now that that's out there, I would also say you might want to play with just some overall detuning and or even fluctuation in time, like actual BPM, with this thing, right? Because it's got such a cool like it's got a feel to it that feels like it should almost kind of undulate in a way, right? Like it's warpy and wonky enough that it almost feels like there should be a little tape warble in there every once in a while where it sounds like maybe the tape's going to get eaten and doesn't. I don't know. Um, but I really like the idea. Guy, you got new stuff. What is your new stuff? Tell me. Tell us about it. All right. So, guys, got questions about low shelf. I don't know. It's really hard for me to consider a boost in frequencies at this point because I feel like everything is just a little too hot running through this thing as is. If I were to turn this up, it would start to hurt pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Like the sound is still going to be good, but it's just going to be too much pressure on the eardrums, right? It's just a little bit too compressed. Um, so if it were me, I would go back. I would reduce the amount of compression. I would redo the volume mix just a bit to leave a few more dBs for the entire mix to come in around the minute mark, um, and push a couple of things out to the sides just slightly from the center, um, and not much more. Not much more. I would be really interested to know what it sounds like if you were to play with just detuning or time modulation in maybe just one spot of this whole thing, where you've just got like this kind of a thing, right? Not a bunch. Definitely not something you want to like do consistently. But so there's my feedback on that little question, guy. The little beep boop feels way out of key, throws a bit of a curveball to the feel. You know, in Dremia, I would agree, and I like um, the kind of drunk effect that it has. Sometimes when you're not quite sure if something is supposed to be there or if it honestly fits or whatever, all you really need to do is repeat it, right? Double down on that. And let the people know that this was an artistic creative decision that you made intentionally, right? So one way that you could do that is do a little rapid fire ping pong of this sound when it first comes in, right? To just like announce that it's here, and make it even more significant in the mix. Um, Again, you can play with the tuning or the pitch of something, but you could do it in a delay tail instead of up front on the initial sound. There's a few different ways that you can call a second round of attention to one sound that kind of stands off to the side. Boss says I wants to make me. It makes me want to get drunk on a boat. That's awesome. All right, so you're saying maybe 2/3D down before the drop section? No, I would say even more than that. I would say something like bring the entire project down like maybe 6 dB or something like that, and then maybe give that an extra like 4 dB, even maybe even a touch more difference between the intro and the full mix. And yes, for better dynamic contrast, but also for the ears, right? Because once this thing goes through maximization and mastering, it's going to feel too loud no matter where you are on the volume dial. And that would be a shame because it's a really awesome palette of sounds. Like this is a really cool thing. So I would just back off on the volume. It will get louder when you go through the mastering process, and you just trust in that. It will come back to the same volume. It just will feel better on your ears, is all. Um, yeah, Tachyon, maybe at the end of the phrases, maybe just in the middle of one area. It's totally up to you. Like that's a very creative, artistic, kind of personal preference kind of thing. But I definitely think it's worth pursuing. I definitely think it would work in this type of a track. This has got a like a like an old Calliope kind of a feel, right? Like this, or like the Oregon grinder monkey, right? Or like, every once in a while you don't move the crank quite as fast and there's just like this momentary slowdown or slur or something that happens and then it comes right back up. Think of that. That's kind of what I'm thinking of, is like this kind of not quite stable overall platform that it's on, not just the sounds itself, but I think that, yeah. Guy. I love that it's always stream of consciousness with you, man. I got, what the hell are these? M50XS. Nice. Anime slice of life type beat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One thought you had is not enough space between each sound. Then that would be something you need to pay attention to. Like, that's the kind of thing that you should always listen to the voice inside of your head first before, like, really taking to heart all the feedback that you get from everyone else. I really, truly, honestly believe this. I have always felt this, and I only feel it more strongly every single day, is that you've got to listen with your own ears first, because this is your, yeah, modern carnival music, exactly. This is your idea coming to life, and the more input you're getting from other people that you're actually implementing over what your intuition is driving you towards, the more you're moving away from your sound and towards someone else's, and then it's just not yours. And then you don't know where to go with it. And that's when you start to have these moments where you're like, how do I finish this? How do I, because you've moved away from your ideas, right? So it's hard to gauge, um, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I'd say about that. Gebro Music, thank you for the follow. Yeah, anytime that you have that feeling, like that inkling in your gut that there needs to be more space between each sound, or that the overall mix is too busy, or that too many layers are in close proximity to one another in either frequency or stereo width or whatever, then you really need to pay attention to that and jump on it before you do anything else in the mix. Because I think in most situations, what our gut or our mind is trying to tell us in those moments is that you're doing too much. Remember that less is more. It's always less is more, because you can only focus on so many things at once, and you can only process so many frequencies at once, right? And there's only one output at the end of the day, and only one input for us. So, making it all digestible. You can extend the length of a track 2 or 3 minutes to fit more sounds in over time if you really want to have more of these sounds in front of people or more of these ideas in front of people. But cramming it all together in just a couple of minutes, just for the sake of keeping it in some kind of arbitrary length based upon like genre expectations or whatever, is it runs contrary to the whole idea of music as art. So just, yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude. Okay. So, Tachyon, I don't think you were in here for this, but the imposter syndrome comes up again. So, this is the fourth time today that imposter syndrome has come up. We were only offline for a couple of days. Um, imposter syndrome is real, and it's something that every single person faces and every single person feels. And it's legit. And thanks for putting it out there verbally. Like you're being real. You're being real with your own music. As long as you're being real with yourself and your own music, you're being honest. And that's all it's going to take to make something better. So if you feel that there needs to be more space between each sound, take the time and do it. If you agree, after hearing me say it, that this all hits pretty hard and there's not much space for it to be turned up, then bring everything down. And I would, as just a general challenge to most of y'all out there, is produce something without any compressors on it, unless you need specific ducking of frequencies like in a bass synth to get out of the way for your kick when it's hitting or something like that. See what you can do producing without any compressors at all. And come back to the realization that compressors are supposed to make things quieter. They're supposed to attenuate things, right? They're not supposed to make things louder. So when we start messing with the overall volume dynamics of a track by inflating the loudness of everything along the way, we're moving further and further away from, like the whole purpose of gain staging and the whole idea of volume mixing. We're kind of flying by the seat of our pants when we do that, right? So if what you want is to really gain control over each one of these elements and know how to make each one shine in a mix, just go back and volume mix around the most important element in your mix. And then bring everything up around that. And when there's too much happening, just back off. Extend the length of your track a bit, right? Or move some sounds to another project entirely, right? And start to consider that you might be developing your own sound, right? At some point, these things happen. Yeah, for what it's worth. But the whole, having imposter syndrome, when you're reaching out to other people for feedback, just be cognizant of what you are eventually implementing in your own work based upon the feedback that you got, and ask yourself, after you implement it and listen to it, ask yourself very seriously and honestly, like, number one, why did I make that change, right? And do I like the change? And is it taking it in a direction that's closer to what I originally wanted to make when I started working on this track? Or did I move further in the direction of mainstream or, common, or, you know what I mean? Because that's when imposter syndrome really starts to rear its head from project to project, is when you start thinking that perhaps your ideas were not as sound as someone else's. And when someone else heard this thing, they had a big reaction and said, oh, this should be different. And it makes you start questioning what you've just made. But you've got to just have faith that this is something that you made. They did not make this. If they were set down in a room with all the same sounds, they would not have made this. I would not have made this. You made this, right? It's like the imposter syndrome thing is just a slippery slope. And it's a real thing that's always going to be there. And until you start to gain your footing with trust in yourself and your own ears, and that comes from successes that can be repeated, it's just the way that it is. I would say, find a good collaborator, find a good mentor, stick with a community that gives you feedback that's really freaking honest and blunt and real, and not riddled with intention, like their own missions, right? But good on you for actually saying the words out loud, man. Oh man, there's a lot happening in the chat right now. I'm just catching up really quick. Guy, you know what I need? I need an app that extracts all of Guy's comments in the chat like over a 4 hour period of time and just to string them together in little like novellas for me. That's what I need. I need someone to take the time to go through and just copy and paste all of his random comments into a little text file for me. I just read I let the brain do its own thing and it doesn't make me drool in public most of the time. We have a good thing going on. Oh, man. Seth makes a good point of just go and listen to, band XYZ and listen to how they broke all the rules. And yeah. Paul, you did. You missed some real talk, but we're still having it. So we're all imposters. Embrace the con. Yeah, I think that once more people wise up to the fact that absolutely nobody knows what they're doing, everything starts to get a little bit easier. Yeah, two-man crowd, we don't do that. I don't like that. I don't want someone to do that with one of my tracks. Oh, sounds great. Next track. So we don't do that here. Are to the musicality of it and songwriting components. Okay, so a lot of the doubts are around the music of it. So, this is, oh man, this is something that quite literally almost every single private session touches on at one point or another when people start doing sessions with me. And that is that when we're young, we fall out of our mamas and we start making music, right? And most of it is just gobbledygook before we even know words or anything. But as soon as they can, the adults around us start telling us that what we're doing isn't the right way, right? And they start putting all this doubt in our minds, Like you're singing Mary Had a Little Lamb, you switch up the words and you're being creative, and they're like, stupid kid can't learn the lyrics yet. Actually, sweetheart, the way that it goes is Mary had a little lamb, right? And it's just like this constant correcting and stuff. And it's awful because it starts to break you at a really young age. And then you start to lose trust and you start to ask people at every turn, like, is this how I'm supposed to do this? And it's like, no, back up. You show me how you want to do this. Like that's the art, right? If everybody's saying Mary Had a Little Lamb exactly the same, then we'd never find remixing or DJ sets or anything, right? Like it's a pretty lame existence if everybody's following the same homogenized template. Tachyon, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Andromeda says, I just push buttons and stuff happens. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am an imposter. You know what you are, Andromeda? You're a creator. Here's the way that I see it. And I'm sorry for being repetitious for those who are in here every day, but going back to the whole Maud Ross, Bob Ross mindset, and Ram Dass for that matter, I'm all less is more. And if you're a painter, you're not going out there and finding the minerals and grinding them into the exact pigments that you want and making the exact kind of paint that you want. You're not going out and harvesting fibers and making your own, weaving your own canvases. You're not chopping down trees to make the frames. You know what I mean? You're not going out there and like sweet talking a horse so you can get some of their tail hair to make a new brush, right? You're not doing that. You go to the freaking craft store and you buy some canvas and brushes and some paints that are probably on sale, and then you go home and you make something and it's awesome. And nobody judges you for that. But right now, with all the backseat Andes that we've got in the world of music and in this online landscape that we're all trying to produce in, we don't have enough connectivity like in the room with us to like say, hey, what do you think of this? And get some honest feedback from someone in the room that actually knows what the hell they're talking about and what you're trying to do. So we go online and we ask for some assistance or some feedback or whatever, and we get this big slap in the face, right? We might feel like imposters, but we're being made to feel like imposters. You're not a freaking imposter. That's the truth of the imposter syndrome. Yes, it's important that we all say out loud that we have imposter syndrome and it's hard to finish tracks. We don't know what the hell we're doing, but you know what? That's real life. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's not something that needs to be solved. But the reason why we're having those feelings is because we're in large part being made to feel those feelings, right? It's kind of a predatory cycle that we're all kind of stuck in, unfortunately. It's just because it had to do with, it was tethered to nurturing, right? We trust the adults in our lives when we're young, and they guide us through life and they keep us alive. They keep us safe and they inspire us and they introduce us to instruments and blah, 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 blah. And they tell us all the time that we're doing stuff wrong, right? When it comes to creative stuff. So, I mean, it has deep roots. It has deep roots. But long story short, you're not an imposter. Yes, you have imposter syndrome. We all have freaking imposter syndrome. We all need to say it out loud and just admit it. Guy says, I use presets. There, I said it. Thank you, Guy. I make presets. And I, therefore, use presets. So Eric says, best advice I was given years ago was don't run yourself down. There are plenty of people out there who will do that for you. Word. Yeah, dude. That's like a dad quote right there, right? Man. I own present, my little beaches. You bet, Tachion. I hope that it helps, man. Yeah, right, two-man crowd? Who wouldn't use presets? Exactly. Ooh, preset abuse by the uncle. Paul is uploading a new video. Everybody click on new tab button on your browser and go to YouTube and look up Uncle Chrome. That's Paul Artola here in the chat, and he puts up awesome stuff, and he does it all through modular rig VCV. So go check it out. It's cool stuff. Eric, you should make your music the way I like it. It's better that way. I like that, Andromia. That's awesome. All right. Paul, I will click on your link after I get, who's waiting for feedback? Two-man crowd, I think. And then I've also got another one that just popped up from Al Capone in here. Should I click on this thing that Al Capone sent me? That's really appreciable, if that's even a word. See, this is the side of the internet that I like. The whole, I just said that. Is that even real? That's awesome. Thanks again for the sub, Tachyon. Man, a lot of new subs today, or resubs. Thank you, guys. Tachyon, you are a quality human being. Thank you for being here with us. Don't start with Mary Had a Little Lamb, or I will start having Andrew Dice Clay flashbacks. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider, sat down beside her, and said, "Hey, what's in the bowl?" If he says dope next to my track, that's awesome. Well, I don't know that you would say that what I'm preaching here is an influence of Ram Dass. I would say that I like Ram Dass and We Grok in full. If you're unfamiliar with him, check him out. He's good. He passed away recently, but his lessons will live on forever. Tell me more about Mary's lamb, Clarice. Saf, you're lucky, man. Not only do you have a brother who like understands what you're trying to do, but he's a musician himself. So when he speaks words, like while giving you feedback, they actually have some kind of like roots to them. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question, guys. Stop worried about how your music sounds and concentrate on how it makes you feel and is good and all is good. Well, that honestly is a bigger question because what is your goal with your music? If you're making it just to get the idea out and you may or may not ever listen to it again, then yes. But if what you're wanting is to put it out there and for you to get the kind of reaction that you've always wanted, then probably no. You know what I mean? Like you get something done. How do I put this? The answer can be yes once you know what the hell you're doing. And you get to gauge whether or not you know what you're doing yet because it's your standard that you're trying to live up to. You have musical heroes, therefore your standards are high, right? It's based upon what you've heard previously, right? So take that for what it is and just be honest with yourself. Like, all right, so I want all my drums to sound as good as Questlove or whatever, right? And so that's your standard. And once you've gotten to the point where you know that that's what you're outputting, then no, you don't need to put it in front of everyone and being worried about what they think about it because now is your chance. Like, this is your time, right? That's the end of your apprenticeship, basically, right? If we go back in time to how music used to be made and in versus what we're doing now, the whole mentorship apprenticeship thing was real. Like people sat there and they watched someone turn knobs, but it wasn't just knowing what knobs they pushed. They were in the room with them. So they understood what that person was thinking. And that person was talking while they were doing that. They weren't hiding away that information, right? They were saying, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to back off of this cut and I'm going to switch to a shelf because I feel like what I'm doing is removing part of the life force of this sound and it's killing the energy of this track versus just watching someone make a change on their EQ and move on. Right? So you gain access to these insights and the whys, not the hows. It's all about the whys. If you want hows, that's what a manual's for. If you want whys, like that's what you sit with the greats for. That's why you find a mentor, right? And once you know, then you can gauge your own stuff and say whatever to everyone else, and they could just download your albums when they come out and they can be just as impressed as you were with your musical heroes. They didn't call you up and ask you for advice about what you thought on their tracks. They just put out an album. Feeling always translates. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gebro, I think you are after Two-Man Crowd. Subvid sent me an email. Thank you, thank you. Two-Man Crowd, Two-Man Crowd, Two-Man Crowd. Didn't you drop a link in this chat at some point? Man, you guys are talkative today. I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Oh, there it is. Man, I was about to ask you to post it again. All right, so pretty dope. Let's move on to Gebro's music. I think he is next up. He's Al Capone in the Discord. Now I'm just messing with you, man. All right, so nice build. It's missing just a little bit of low end punch, I feel. I was thinking that you were holding back on that and that when everything hits at 30 seconds, it was just going to be there, but it actually wasn't. It was very, very full, but it didn't have the like that punch, almost like a sucker punch kind of feel, right? So I think that you might need to accent, I don't know, maybe like 150 hertz or something like that, right around that point when everything really comes in. It would make me feel better about not having that punch in the initial intro. Dope, dope vibe though. 115, the drop could use a bigger kind of vacuum effect, I think. So if you just kind of increase the volume build at the drop and then just immediately strip all but just 1 to 2 elements, right? It comes close. It comes close. But it's like this like this fade. I think it needs to be more drastic. I think that it's just got to be like a and then that synth comes in, right? Like a full like 2 bars. Wait for that atmospheric thing that you've got going in there to fully dissipate and like hang for a beat and then add something. I think that you would have the impact. It's a really epic build, and there's so much happening right there that if you were to just take all of it away and leave them with just a moment of silence before starting to rebuild it, I think that 145 mark here where everything's coming up. Volume build again, but maybe just a little bit more linear than it is right now. I feel like it kind of had this kind of concave build, but I think you could go a little bit more linear and just kind of build the tension a little bit longer if you do that. Around the 2-minute mark, are those perks layered in there that are getting buried, or is that are those kind of noise artifacts? Are those just a byproduct of a synth in there? Sev, take care, dude. Be productive. I will see you in a couple of hours. Gebro, hang tight. I think you're the next in line. I'm just trying to find the... There we are. So volume automations pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Just to increase the dynamic punch of these things. Fucking Paul. I mean, Guy. Shit ton of perks. Okay, so that's the problem right there. Is that it maybe it's just too much perks. So let's just talk about the overall busyness of this thing really quick. There's a need for greater separation in both frequency and stereo spread. So, and I'm sure that you've done this to a certain extent because I can hear synths off to the side, but try to find a couple more ways in which you can create more separation, whether it be through volume mixing or whether it be through merging sounds together into actual layers that you can then, adjust in the volume mix better. But if there's a shit ton of perks, we've got a problem because the definition of those is not coming through. So 1, take down the number of them and maybe you'll be able to hear them pop off better. 2, you'll probably need stronger transients on those. So using a transient shaper, transient master, enveloper, whatever you want to call it, on each and every one of those hits will probably help it cut through the mix, right? If you're still having a hard time, layer in something really, really small and metallic. And I mean really small, like itty bitty. If your waveform for that perk is this big, get something that's this big, right? And just give it a little knife to actually cut through the mix. But the bigger problem here is probably compression on a many, many voiced synth. I'm going to guess there was probably at least 7 voices on that synth, and it becomes this kind of wall of sound, entity, right? Which, I mean, it's a wall of sound. When other things run into it, it hits it and they slide down, right? So that's probably what's going on there. Back off the number of perks, move them out to the sides, duck stuff, whatever you need to do to start to hear those things. A subnote sustain in 1.2. Oh, yeah. If there is any steady sustain of subs in this, we've got to remove that. Yeah, I'm digging the rainbow wings too, Purple Pros. There's a trick Fox Stevenson does to get a really punchy, energetic kick where he boosts everything, but like Automate pulls down the 150, 300 down. Yep. Yeah, dynamic EQing, right? It's the same basic idea as volume ducking through, you know, a sidechain trigger and a compressor. The same perk was in the first drop too, but they were more sidechained under the kick and snare than in the second drop, where the drum patterns leave more space for the perks to be heard. Yeah. Yeah, I would just say that in general, it's hard to get the definition from all the different elements in the track. And part of that could just be that compression is being used on things where it actually isn't quite necessary yet. So it's inflating the overall volume. It's reducing the dynamic range. So therefore, there's not enough space for the different sounds to be heard individually because they don't have their own cadence spectrum, right? It's 3 synths that each had 3 to 9 voices in the top lead. Yep, there you go. That's what it is. Two-man crowd. You need to go back to that and you need to reduce this. I'm not saying you got to take them all away, but what you do need to do is find a specific range of frequencies that you're allowing each one of those to play. Think bandpass, right? If too many things are stacked up with too many voices, there's too many things are happening, right? If you're saying there's what was it, from 3 to 9 voices each, but how many notes are being played? Like if you stop and do the math, let's say that it's a 3-voice synth. If you're playing a 3-note chord, that's 9 voices. Those 9 voices are now competing with what? That was just one layer, right? You still have 2 more layers of this top line synth. So what I would do is I would reduce the amount of frequency range that each one is outputting and then reapproach your volume mix from that point forward. I think that you'll find a much clearer thing with a lot more clarity there. Oh, dude, dynamic EQing is where it's at for this type of music right here. Because you're going for this super huge over-the-top sound, right? And it's like all of the energy in the world is just like, boom, boom, boom. But the problem is that, you know, it's like when you go and you see a band and they all start soloing at the same exact time. It's like they're all doing great things, but I just can't hear them. I just can't hear them because they're all doing it at the same time. Oh yeah, TDR Nova's good free starter. That's a good point. Guy. All right, 2-man crowd. Dope track. Next. I do believe that means Al Capone is up. Gebro, you ready? Man, I don't stream for 2 streams and all of a sudden spend an entire stream doing feedback. You guys missed me. All right, I'm going to assume that Gebro's just kind of sleeping, but he's here. We're going to do this. All right, all right. Oh, 2-man crowd. Thank you for the sub. I do appreciate it. Made you wait. Nice little piano trill at the end there. All right. Maybe first, I like this. This is tasty. It's got some heart and soul to it. I like it. Um, I'd work the ADSR on these strings just a little bit because they feel. Um, could my track be a beat for a rapper? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Gebro. And if this is something that you're trying to break into, um, definitely follow and or sub. Stick around. This is like questions that we get a lot, but yeah, this is good, and it would work well on its own as well. So if nobody has talked to you about the potential of building stuff for licensing purposes, that would be a conversation that you should be having with someone. If you don't have a mentor in the space, you can give me a shout. I'd work the ADSRs, just the general volume shaping on these strings a bit to get them to feel a little bit more human. What's the sample library that you're using for your strings right now? Saf is liking the avant trap vibe. So is Tachyon. Purple Pros likes it. Those chorus yelps would be cool to look up jump scare reactions. Nutcracker gone pink, Panther goth trap type beat with the side of samurai. Oh, Indremia. Yeah, see, some people are feeling it. A sample jump scare reactions for somewhere. or pitch down a squirrel, you've heard. Um, Man, Gabriel, I hope that you're reading all the comments in here because people are loving this and they're not just saying, cool vibe, good beat. Okay, so Kontakt libraries in Cinematic Studio. Okay, so here's what I would do. I would go in and just play around a little bit with your delivery options inside of your Kontakt instruments. Make sure that you're taking a look at your articulation settings, and you have some envelope shaping options that you can that you can play with there, as well as your general kind of knee setting, right? Whether something is being delivered in a fairly linear path or if it's got a concave or convex curve to it, right? Which affects your, basically the attack of your instrument. So here's what I would do. I would spend a little bit of time more making these feel a bit more human by extending the decay just a little bit, maybe adding a little bit more to the attack. And then after you get those things set, I would probably set up some kind of a random LFO to make kind of like a red robin on those. So it's not super repetitious because you are hitting these notes a lot. And then what I would do is I would double down on that. And then in your piano roll, I would go and humanize the heck out of that MIDI, right? You would want to adjust the timing on a micro scale and the velocity on a micro scale so you can get a more dynamic performance out of this thing, right? So more of a difference in volume between the notes, more changes in the rate of attack and decay specifically in the envelope for your strings. And what's going to happen, you're going to hear it immediately. It's just going to open everything up because it's going to feel a bit more natural and everything will become more dramatic in your track. So going back to your question of can it be a beat for a rapper? Yes, of course it can. But I think that you're onto something a bit more here. So I would absolutely start having a conversation with someone about like, hey, what do I need to do to start getting my stuff out there as instrumental works as well? Because I think that That's an important conversation to be having for this type of music, because some things are too good to be sitting underneath lyrics, right? Like in the rap world, the MC kind of reigns supreme once the lyrics are in place. And it's good to just kind of remember that, right? Because what you're creating here, yeah, exactly. Like Guy says, I like this as is, which means you probably should be giving your work a bit more value. Just because someone would be willing to put lyrics over the top of it doesn't mean that it's making it better or that it's somehow increased in value. Okay, that's like an important thing to consider, because this is good. This is a really good, solid vibe. Um, the bass is a little too hot. I would absolutely EQ the reverb. Don't be a savage. And use a shelf, not just a cut, and make sure that there's no resonant peak added. Okay, if you're adding a little resonant bump or like a shelf bump at the end there, don't do it, because what it's doing is it's affecting the phase of the rest of the sound. It's going to bias the entire focus of the sound towards the low end, which is not actually what you want. You're already getting a lot of low end from it. You don't need to accentuate that. And if it's being compressed, don't. The kick at 130 is a bit off to me. And the reason why I say that is because it hits really hard. Like I can feel the pressure of it. So I feel like it's probably compressed and it's probably accented down low, and there's probably some highs being taken off of it. Don't take off the highs, or not all the highs, right? I understand that you're chasing a vibe here, so stay within the vibe. Do not compress it. And try cutting away. I know this always sounds so weird at first, but cut away the subs. If there's sub presence in that kick, cut away from it. Like just straight up eliminate it. See if you actually need it. If you do, add it back just a little bit at a time, but don't add a ton back. And I think that you'll feel that it hits a lot harder and that you actually feel a lot more bass because of it. It's the sub frequencies that mess with the mix. I'm liking the reverse clap ad that you have there. You might want to play just a little bit more with the stereo field to give the bass its own space right in the middle, because it feels like you're pushing it more because you want more from it. In reality, it's giving you more than enough already. In fact, right now it's a bit too much. So what you can do is remove the competition in the middle of the mix that doesn't need to be there, and then that bass is going to stand strong, it's going to stand upright, and it's going to make you very proud. That's really what it is. As far as like what could keep the interest if you're not chasing an MC, like if you're not trying to get this thing sold to rappers specifically, what can you add to make this thing really stand strong to the point where you would feel it had the same value, if not more, than selling it to someone to spit over the top of? Because if you were to play with just simple ideas like stuttering, gating, maybe even playing with something like a shaper box or something like that, you can add interest to this thing. You can add a couple of twists and turns. They don't need to be super fancy. They don't need to happen again and again, and it would be enough, right? Think like Thievery Corporation, or going into different genres, like maybe like a Portishead or something like that, and the types of very simple things that they employ to make things much more interesting than they would be otherwise, right? And it removes like that kind of need or craving that we have for another artist to step in and add their own thing. Okay, so at 130 you put a cutoff, so you put a filter there, and you wanted that to come out slowly. That's totally fine. The problem is that on that you might have a resonant peak, right? So if you put a filter on there, is the res knob turned up? Because if so, it shouldn't be while it's really down low. You can bring that up as you modulate out of it, and then it'll give you that frequency sweep that you're looking for, that little funk sizzle, right? If you're not cutting out the lowest frequencies though, like if you go in there and you look at that kick and the low frequencies are just wide open on the bottom, cut them off. Cut them off. Chop them at like 40 hertz and see what it sounds like, right? There are no real rules for this, right? And you just got to trust that you're not going to lose your kick. You're not going to lose your low end when you do that. But you've got to make that change to actually know it. Yeah, Beats Antique. Beats Antique is an excellent example in the space. They're one of my favorite for this type of example because they keep it busy. They don't keep it too busy, right? They have a very eclectic palette, just like this one, right? But what they don't do is get so repetitious that it becomes mundane, and they don't overly sample, right? They don't go and find extra vocal chops or whatever, because it would be a distraction from what they're doing. And the way that they keep it really interesting is their simple stutters and twists and random gates and stuff that they put in there. It adds kind of like a DJ vibe to the whole thing, and I think you could do the same thing here. Um, my meaning of stutter would be just like a simple note repeat or something, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be like an ongoing thing, but think of like, like BT or like Stutter Edit, like what BT made with Isotope, right? Like that type of a thing where you're simply remixing or resequencing, but really, or glitch machines, right? Like Evo's made his fortune off of this, right? Just this simple idea of like, what would happen if I just repeated that one part of that one sound 2 times right here, or 3 times? Or what if I let it repeat 25 times, but I'm pitching up as it happens, so it just sounds like this weird little, right? So that's what I mean by stutter, just like simple repeats and not like big echoes or delays or anything. A fatum of volume kick could be a good replace. You know what? If your mind's ear is hearing a filter sweep, then go with a filter sweep. I'm just saying make sure that you're not pumping too many low frequencies out there, because that's what it feels like in that one spot. And it's really only that one spot. And when you said you put a filter on it, that made me think, okay, well, maybe there's a resonant bump there, right? And just make sure that there's no resonant peak. Make sure that there's no change in your resonance knob there. And if there is, if you want to add that, then add it as it unveils, as it opens up that cutoff, then add that resonant sweep. That's what I would say. Yeah, I'm not thinking of like total chops and gates where everything cuts out completely, just subtle little embellishments, right? That's why I bring up the idea of like a stutter edit or maybe even a shaper box, because you can have like a wet dry balance control over the amount of jitter or repeats or stutters or whatever we're calling it. Yeah, and I think that it's a playful enough thing to go along with a vibe like this. It would still keep all of the dramatic edge. It just makes it fun. It just makes it more fun for the listener. And then you don't feel like it's missing lyrics or that you should be making it for lyrics, right? Yeah, guy makes a really good point, and I do this continually in my projects too. Is get a simple hit or two out, crank up the feedback, and play with that tail. That's a fun thing. The last point, which last point? The last point about the filter and the resonant peak. So what I'm saying is that right now you've got this filter. You're opening up this filter for your kick so it can come out of that. What you don't want is for there to be a resonant peak at the bottom. This is what the resonance knob on your filter does. This is the cutoff knob. The horizontal slide is your cutoff value. The vertical peak is your resonance value. If you have a resonant peak on this, that's what the problem is. It's artificially inflating in dBs, the low end of this, and it throws everything off. So what I would do is, if you do want some kind of funk from a resonant peak, add it as it comes up. So once it goes past 150, you can bring it up and it'll give it a nice little funk slide on the way up. But the other thing you need to do is pay close attention to your low end frequencies. And I would say on a kick like that, go above the 30 hertz mark and chop it. You have so much sub and stuff flying around in this thing, you don't even need to worry about that. This is all for a nice little sweep effect. Get rid of some of that. Maybe even bring it up to like 40 or something and then open this up, right? And maybe you need a resonant peak to be added after 150 or 200 to add the extra air in this kick, right? Just kind of play around with that. Oh, the stutter, etc. So as far as like adding a very subtle stutter, one place you can start is just go and grab a free plugin that will do this for you, like a Glitch Machines, like a Hysteresis or something. So this is what Hysteresis looks like, and it's got a stutter. It's got a stutter option right here, and you can quite literally just turn everything else off and play around with the size of the stutter, the speed of the stutter, the mix, and then there's a dry wet over here. So I'm just saying, just go in there and play with things that would add just small, subtle embellishments to the actual delivery of these notes. Okay, something that'll just make people go, ooh, that was actually pretty cool. It doesn't change the timing of the song. It doesn't change your palette of instruments being used or anything, just interest. If you have Shaper Box, that might be a really ideal one for this because it gives you so much flexible creative control. Yeah, I would start there. And yeah, otherwise just really good vibe. I mean, people here are loving it. I'm definitely not saying don't chase the beat market. Like, definitely get your beats out there because you're making good stuff. And if you want people to spit over the top of them, then you're gonna find takers. You're gonna find takers. If you don't know how to get your stuff out there, how to actually sell the stuff, give a shout when you're ready. All right, we got just a tiny bit more time. I believe Subvid said he sent something into the old inbox here. All right, so this one is from Zach. And away we go. Cool, cool. This is nice, dude. I'm digging this. I'm gonna let this finish while we talk. I just really like it. Good candidate for nested reverb, perhaps, on something, or maybe something in the binaural panning realm where something is kind of going around, like maybe one of the drums that's a little more rock steady than the rest. Maybe it's actually kind of going around the drum circle or something, which would really up the like anxiety level here. Additional nature sounds might be cool. Like, I'm thinking a thick fog obscuring your vision in the forest and you have no idea what the sounds actually are, kind of thing. Like maybe a random step, right, that snaps a twig, or like there's a rustle in a branch, or maybe there's like a breath from like a moose or something, right? Or an elk or something that would just make you like freaking shiver in real life, right? More variety in the pan position of the drums. If you don't have something in there, like move it around. I think that, I don't know, some of these sounded like they were very close in proximity to one another on either side. And I would feel like this has got such like a kind of culty, like I'm about to be sacrificed in the woods kind of feel to it, that maybe it should surround me a little bit more, right? And have these points like, not like equidistant from each other, but, you know, like maybe panned out at 5 and 25 and 45 and 65 or something like that, right? Yeah, super serious, like cultish, I'm about to be murdered here kind of thing. I like it. And then the spoken word, yeah, absolutely. I can totally hear like a William S. Burroughs, like old school mid 90s type thing. I could also hear even something more like nature worldy, you know, like an Attenborough kind of thing. I don't know. My initial gut reaction to the spoken word idea was like a William S. Burroughs kind of a voice, right? Something kind of craggly. Nate! Nate! Thank you, sir, for the raid. You're here just in time for me to sign off in a few minutes. I appreciate you, homie. Indigo blue vibe. Haunting and repetitious. Yeah, definitely. We are having our visitor for dinner type of beat. The visitor is the dinner. Yes. Trance in your pants. What up, Ricky? Thank you. Thank you. Family's doing better. It's good to see you, homie. Yeah, this, I agree with Foss on this one. This is a super sick vibe. And Zach, I hope you chase this one to the end because I want to hear this in its completed state. This is good. This is good. Real Ben, thank you. Thank you for the host. I appreciate it. Timing. Yeah, I'm about out. I've got a few more minutes with y'all, but I really appreciate you hosting and coming by. Nate, how's your stream going over there, homie? Star Princess, Ben, you guys have fun over there today? The 2-person army. That's awesome. Yeah, you bet, man. I hope they resonate with you, and I hope that they inspire something fun. All right, so where was I before all of this? I was... Oh, yes, I bounced one thing. You guys kept me busy with feedback all day. And I did it because I missed you. Let's see what this actually sounded like. Okay, it's cool. It's a little bright. Let's see what happens when we go way down. Let's see if this gets too resonancy. fast. I think maybe I like that. Nate is asking, so remember in that class challenge at Pure Mind where we had to make a beat with only massive, not that strict? Yes, of course I remember that. I put lots of people through that challenge. Purple Prose, is it something that you were writing for the last one that Subvids was putting up? Oh, nice, Nate. Nice. Maybe you should send the thing that you wrote to Subvids. Oh, Paul, lots of aches. Let's scoop a bunch out of the middle on this one. Yeah, that's a nice spot right there. This, however, let's see if maybe we can give this a bit of a pulse. Nate, take care, buddy. Appreciate you. Have a good day, man. It's an angry squirrel. Oh, I see what my problem is with this one. And this bad boy, that is deep. All right, we're going to bounce this one, because then I got to go. Pissed off pigeon drone. Ooh, Foss just went live. Let's go raid him. Oh, Eric. Oh, save that story. Put a pin in that one. And remember it for next time. Maybe we could record that story and put it over the top of something. That'd be fun. Gebro, we do quite a bit of reviews here. Quite a bit of honest feedback. It's important. You can feel free to swing back by anytime, man. All right, kitty cats, I really got a boogie because I got a whole bunch of stuff to catch up on, and I got a jam session to step into in about an hour. So it was a gray squirrel. Oh, vermin. Paul, that thing was live streamed on Squirreled. You've been squirreled, man. Oh, you know what? Before I dip out, I am going to, before you guys leave, let me just switch over to my browser really quick. And I just saw a notification saying that Foss went live. So we're going to go surprise him with a crowd of people here. See what he does about it. All right, so let's see if we can find him. There he is. He can't hide from us. All right, kitty cats, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I missed you guys when we did not stream together a couple times last week. I felt kind of empty inside. I'll be back again on Wednesday, and I will see you then. Thanks to all of you who subbed today and followed. Welcome to the mix, or welcome back. I'll see you on the flip. We're going to dip in there in about 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Take care, y'all. Have a good day. Stay inspired. Make good stuff.